Welcome in, episode number 40. We are grown men now here, episode number 40. We're going to talk about conference realignment chaos as it rains down on college football, the effects it has on other sports, and what we think is going to happen towards the future. We'll go over ACC win totals, who's going to hit, who is not going to hit, and Zach found a very interesting NBA pyramid tier list. We will go over that as we close out episode number 40. Joining us today, as usual, is Zach Huffman at Zach_Huffman_. Zach, how are we doing on this Saturday?
We're doing good. Apparently, we are prophets who are able to tell the future on who's going to join which conference because we predicted a lot of this. So kudos to us. How about that?
Yeah, let's give it up to ourselves. Giving it up to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, giving it up to ourselves. Yeah, we were talking about this just a few episodes ago. We talked about Utah possibly joining the Big 12. We talked about maybe Oregon State making the move. We thought that Arizona and Arizona State were going to make the jump. And look at where we are now. Let's go ahead and start with the heavy hitters here. So let's start with the Big Ten, because we're looking right now, Zach, at an 18-team conference, a monster conference here.
Is that the largest ever? It's got to be.
It's got to be close. So I mean, if it's not, it probably is. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it probably is. I think this is definitely the biggest conference in the history of college athletics. Look, they add Oregon, they add Washington. You already have UCLA and USC that we knew about that were going to jump on this bandwagon. Nebraska looks like they're staying for now. Rutgers looks like they're staying. I mean, this is, and they won't have divisions. The Big Ten will not have divisions in 2020. Conference will continue to play 9 Big Ten games. And the top two Big Ten teams will meet in the conference championship, which means we could have, Michigan, Ohio State 2 times a year. We could have, these things happen that have never happened when it comes to Big Ten football. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on this big stuff that broke yesterday afternoon. We kind of figured it would, but it happened.
Yeah. So I'm really, and I know you're not as excited as I am about this, but I am so excited about Oregon being in the Big Ten because those every time they played against Big Ten teams like Ohio State, it was just an amazing game. In fact, the last time that Oregon played Ohio State, they won. That was just a couple years ago.
Yep. It was a good.
Now,
I was happy.
I was hoping that there would be divisions in this new Big Ten because I wanted to see Oregon in that Ohio State division, and they play every year. But I'm a big fan of there not being divisions as well because now Oregon might be able to play Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan all in the same season, and that you got to admit, even if you might lose all 3 of those games, as an Oregon fan, those are going to be fun games to watch.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm all in for fun games. Now, obviously, for me, the big thing is the travel, right? I mean, there's nothing like traveling cross country from Eugene to play Rutgers in New Jersey. I mean, it's not easy on pro athletes when they do it. There's no way it's going to be easy on college athletes to make those travel things. Jet lag is a thing. It's real. And it concerns me. Travel has always concerned me when it comes to these conferences. It concerned me with UCLA and USC. Now, I'm not a UCLA or USC stan. I don't really like either of those teams. I'm not a fan of either of those teams. But again, that's something you have to, think about when you talk about the fact that these conferences are spreading out like they are geographically.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. Oregon traveling over to Penn State is going to be hard on Oregon, but the reverse is true as well. Oregon's home games are going to be very favorable for Oregon just because of the huge amount of travel that all those Big Ten teams are going to have to do to get to Oregon. So, it kind of cuts both ways there a little bit. And, I don't gamble on the Big Ten, I guess, is what we're saying. Don't gamble on Oregon, especially. You can gamble on some of those other games, the regional closer games that the rest of the Big Ten gets to have that Oregon will never get to have. But hey, well, I say that USC,
and UCLA. Yeah, I mean
Washington.
Washington. Yeah,
I mean, those are all pretty close to Oregon. So I guess we kind of have almost now with the huge conference, you kind of have a nice little geographical pocket there for Oregon.
you could
So
even
they
probably
kind of
throw
have a region to
Nebraska
play
in
in.
there. Nebraska not too bad of a
Not
travel. It's
that,
kind
not
of in
that
the
bad.
yeah, it's in the middle.
Not that Minnesota, not that bad.
Yeah, I mean some of those more west leaning Big Ten teams are I mean still you're crossing 7, 8 states
Yeah, but
via
then you got
via
Maryland,
airplane.
and
Yeah, I
then
mean
you got like Maryland, and you got Rutgers and Penn State. Those are going to be tough. Those are going to be real tough.
yeah, I mean do you think taking a bus would be better? I mean, I know that sounds
No,
weird, but you don't think taking a bus and leaving like let's say you have a game Saturday in New Jersey, right? You leave Wednesday,
yeah,
you camp somewhere on Wednesday night, practice Thursday in a different state. Then you leave Thursday night, you travel overnight, have the kids sleep on the bus, wake up in a new state on Friday, practice at maybe a high school or another small college um, field, so you can still get practices in and workouts in, and then maybe fly Friday night somewhere in that middle ground, like maybe you find somewhere in Minnesota or Michigan, and then you fly from there to Rutgers. I mean, I'm just trying to think of something that makes sense as far as how to make the travel easier. Now, obviously, these kids are going to miss classes, and that's going to be probably another thing you're going to have to worry about. But I mean, I mean, again,
they are not there to play school. They are not there to play school.
I get
Okay,
that. I get that. Not most of them.
but I don't think there's a chance that they take buses. I mean, the regional ones obviously they're going to take buses, but like I mean, Nebraska might be as far as you're willing to go if you're Oregon, because the that's just like AAU at that point. I mean, and you don't really want to do that, especially for like the basketball teams. And I mean, that's tough. And the travel coordination, I agree for those plane rides for those football teams. How many are on a college football roster? I mean, how many are on a college football roster normally? I'd say like
It says
around
50 to 70, 50 to
yeah,
58
like
to 60 to
there's no
70.
hard
Yeah.
limit. Yeah, there's no hard limit, so it's like you can count on traveling close to 100 people on a plane every time that you're traveling. That's huge expense, but it might be better than the gas you got to pay on 7 charter buses.
Yeah.
You know,
It just
that's
yeah.
probably what's going to come down to. I mean, I don't imagine that the players, comfort and they're like fatigue and everything is not going to be a concern for the people making those decisions. They're just going to look at how much it costs, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and the point right now being made is maybe for basketball buses make more sense. But I mean, for
Maybe.
football, you're probably right because basketball. I mean, you're talking about 15 to 70 guys. I mean, you're talking
Yeah,
about
not too
being
many.
you're being able to cram all those plus the coaches probably in one regular school. Bus. Even with the trainers and stuff, you're talking maybe 20 to 25 people. And I mean,
Yeah, and they all
I
got
rode a
their
bus in
buses.
high school, and they got 25 seats.
Yeah,
They fit two a piece. I mean, you can fit 50 people in a fucking school bus. I mean, and these are
yeah,
charter buses. These aren't even school buses. But I mean, I'm just making the point that like they
pretty
can fit.
comfortable.
Yeah, they can fit, and those charter bus seats are not uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, I think that you know, and especially with basketball, when you could possibly play 2 or 3 games a week, I mean, it's possible. That's I mean, buses kind of make more sense in that way. But right now, people really are focusing like on the football aspect, right? But really, this should be about all sports, right? Because this stuff
yeah.
doesn't just affect football, and I think people are focusing on that because look, we're 4 weeks away from kickoff. I mean, we're 28 days away from
I mean,
football
let's be
starting.
honest.
I mean, it's and that's that's where the money's at. Like I get that as well. I mean, that's where the money is at. So I mean, when we talk about this, I mean, we understand that that's where the focus is going to be on, but think about the awesome softball matchups that these teams are going to have. Think about the
Mhm.
great volleyball matchups and those sports that don't get a lot of exposure normally. And now you have these matchups that are looking very, very attractive. Now basketball wise for the Big Ten, I don't know if you're really looking at a bunch of attractiveness because I mean the Big Ten in general, they've
All
not
right.
really been a basketball conference. You have Michigan, Michigan State. Sometimes Purdue, but that didn't work out last season. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Indiana.
Wisconsin's kind of iffy. Indiana used to be good back when they had Victor Oladipo. They've been like downhill since then. But
Hey,
I don't.
they're
But
alright.
Iowa's decent. My Ducks really didn't play well last season. They were expected to be good, and they just weren't. Um, Ohio State again. They go up and down. Nebraska's never really been a force to be reckoned with. So I get why people aren't really talking about Big Ten basketball. Illinois has been good in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the basketball and other sports aspects of the Big Ten right
Um, Honestly, everything else in this conference is pretty mid. The softball's pretty decent. Oregon's always got a good team. UCLA obviously always has a good team. So I do think the softball, yeah, Washington obviously has good teams. Um, Michigan also is usually pretty good. So, I mean, the softball matchups are going to be interesting, but other than that, I mean, the basketball matchups are just a bunch of mid-offs. It's just mid versus mid pretty much every year. Now you get the standouts every once in a while. You get your Ohio State one seed every, 10 years or whatever. Purdue's always going to surprise some people. Michigan State, they're perennial, but like, it's they've been okay recently.
now?
Not to say that they can't be great and, any year they can be. um, but I think most of the basketball is obviously going to be focused on the Big 12, and then after that, it's probably going to be the SEC, based on the basketball that's moving there as
Yeah,
well with Oklahoma and Texas. That's good basketball programs as well, coming from the Big 12, obviously. But the SEC is going to have some decent basketball now, especially with Alabama starting to ramp their program up.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely things happening throughout these conferences, other sport fronts that need to be expressed, and I think people aren't talking about that. But like we said, for the Big Ten, you're looking at mid offs, except for those top four that are usually the
Yeah,
ones in the tournament that could carry themselves all the way there. Um, but let's like you said, let's skip over here to the Big 12, right? This is where things kind of get um exciting on other sports fronts. But let's talk about the football front for the most part. So Arizona State and Arizona join. Utah, they join. You've already got BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF with their first years going to be this year, getting introduced into the Big 12. But adding these other three schools in here, um, I think that this is great for this um, upcoming basketball season. I think this is something that people are going to really be tuned into. Arizona KU matchups are going to be epic. Um, you've got teams like Utah and BYU that are going to be going at each other and they're rivals. So, I mean, that's a great thing to
yeah,
have. Oklahoma State, obviously, their basketball team has been kind of on the higher side. Kansas State, obviously, as well, has kind of been pretty good. And with the addition of Colorado coming in here as well next year, I mean,
yeah.
there's just a lot of promise for the basketball front, but let's focus on the football front. Zach, what are you excited to see as these new teams roll into the Big 12?
So I'm most excited to see this Utah BYU rivalry kind of kick
The
off in the
Holy
Big
War,
12.
baby, the Holy
Yeah,
War.
The Holy War has come to the Big 12, and I'm very excited for that game and that rivalry as a whole. I'm pretty excited to see how Oklahoma State starts faring. Not having a clear rival in this new Big 12. OU obviously leaving, Bedlam's definitely dead. So like,
Texas was the
what?
other one.
Yeah, and Texas is the only other one. So what is OSU going to do
KU.
here? I
It's got to
think
be KU. I mean,
it's got to be KU or it's Kansas State. Kansas State and Oklahoma State, I believe, have a little bit of history, so maybe we can get something kicked off there. So I think that will be interesting. We're going to have to see some new rivalries start to develop. I know that Colorado and Kansas State had a rivalry going when Colorado was obviously a part of the Big 12 in its past. So that'll be interesting, but I'm not expecting to see a ton of 10-win seasons coming out of the Big 12. If I'm being honest, I don't think we're going to see many 10-win seasons come out of here. I think Utah and Oklahoma State are probably going to run this conference in football for the next couple of years. I can see Kansas State making a bid for that. They're obviously always on the come up, and they continue to just impress me every year,
Yeah,
even
watch
with
out for
quarterback
Texas
changes.
Tech, baby.
Yeah, I'm not watching out for Texas Tech. I'm sorry.
Oh
I'm not
man,
doing it.
I
This
sent
is
you
a
that
program
thing.
that is not buying into that Texas Tech hype. We are 100% against the Texas Tech hype. Um, I think I've publicly said I don't believe they will be a top 25 team.
Ooh,
Um,
okay, okay, hot takes over here. I sent you that
we
thing
have
yesterday about them selling out their season tickets for the first time in like 12 years. Texas Tech, the hype has been the Kool-Aid has been drank by the people in Lubbock, Zach. I mean, the media has been saying, "Oh, Texas Tech, they could be a playoff team this year. They're my dark horse." I mean, I really want to know what the
I
hell
can't
these.
wait. I can't wait for Texas to just go in there and score 60.
Oh man, I
Do they
mean,
play in Lubbock? I hope they play in Lubbock. I hope Texas goes in because I think Texas is probably going to, be the better team in the Big 12 this year. Um, in the final send off year, I hope Texas rolls in there and just
I mean,
obliterates
you
them.
say that, but
And I
in
can see OU
reality,
doing
I
that too.
I I don't want to see that. I want to see Tech just drill Texas. I mean, I
I mean, that's what I would enjoy seeing,
if that's the
but
only
like
but if
as
that's
an
the only
OU
game
fan,
Texas Tech wins this season in conference, I'll be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like if
oh well, yeah,
yeah
that'd make me
if
happy.
if they're like 5-3 heading into that game or something, like go ahead and beat the shit out of Texas. Like I don't care. Like I mean like because that
I
means
hope they're
Texas
8-0 going into that, and then Texas just goes in and beats them by 60.
might not disqualify them. Might not. I mean, you saw what happened to
Getting beat
TCU.
by 60?
No, no. Granted, Kansas State didn't beat TCU by 60, but I mean, like, I
They
think that,
did beat them pretty bad.
yeah, but I think that you have to take a look at the way that the football this season is going to be with the fact that OU is still here, Texas is still here. These changes obviously don't take place until next season.
Yeah,
But we do have things to look forward to. I think that if you have those mountain schools, those could be rivalries like Colorado, BYU, Colorado, and Utah, and then vice versa, and mix those
yeah.
three together. Those are all rivalries I
Throw
can see.
Arizona in there.
Yeah, Arizona and Arizona State. I mean, that's a good rivalry to have, but that's the only big brother little brother matchup you have in the whole conference right now.
Depends how you define
I
that. I
mean, I
mean,
mean, you could.
football-wise, you got Kansas State and
Yeah,
Kansas,
I mean, I
Iowa
guess that.
State and Kansas State.
But I'm saying as far as like new teams, I'm like as far as like teams they've brought in, that's the only one that they've
Mhm.
created besides Utah and BYU.
See, and there is one major um, rivalry that's only going to exist 1 year in the Big 12, and that's this year with OU and UCF or Central Florida. My bad, but I think that game is going to be fantastic. Um,
Dylan Gabriel going
these
back
fan
home.
bases, these fan bases hate each other
They do. They do. I don't know
bad.
why, but I think it's because of
It's
Dylan
Dylan because
Gabriel.
it's Dylan
Yeah,
Gabriel.
yeah.
That's what
I
it
think
is.
that's what it is.
It's 100% as a loyal member of the Sooner fan base. I can tell you that UCF fans got very butthurt about this whole quarterback situation. Um, and OU fans respond how OU fans typically do in mass and with profanity. Um,
Lots of profanity.
so these fan bases have come to very much despise each other over the last two-ish seasons. Um, that game is going to be fun.
Yeah,
And if UCF somehow finds a way to win that game, I will probably cry, but I'll also kudos to them for that. And those fan bases are never going to shut up about
no.
it. So that rivalry is going to be fun this year. I can't wait for that game. OU's got obviously every team is out to get OU and Texas. So this whole conference, this one season, is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think we're in for a treat this year, sure. And we got to enjoy it while it's here, because next year it's not going to be. And
Yeah,
eh,
and the Big 12 is going to miss OU and Texas.
yeah,
Let's be
they are.
honest.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's no doubt that they are. And speaking of that, let's talk about the SEC here. So you have
Yeah,
OU and Texas joining. That's the only real change we have. Nobody's leaving. but they are adding those. So they'll have 16 teams. Um, you know, they'll have 8 team. They will not have divisions as well. So no divisions in the SEC once they join as well. Each team will
Yeah,
play 8 conference games. The top 2 teams will play in Atlanta for conference championship game. So I mean, I like the format. It's the only thing that makes sense. But
yeah,
you'll have those seasons where you won't play certain teams one year, then you'll play them the next year. So there's no real consistency as far as opponents go on a year to year basis. Now, every other year basis, yes, probably. But I mean, that as far as like the old Big 12, where it's like, oh, I'm going to play this team every year, but it's just home and away, like that's not going to happen. I mean, it is, but it's going to be every other year instead of every year consecutively. And I think that's a challenge for the coaching staff. I think it's a challenge for them mainly because you can't just be like, oh well, because of last year this is how they fared, and you can't really be like, well, they played this well against this team this year and then this well against the team the next year, so this is probably what's going to happen. No, they're not going to have that happen. There's going to be that gap, and in that gap you're going to have seniors leave, you're going to have transfer portal stuff happen,
yeah.
and the whole entire dynamic of the conference changes on a year to year basis. So coaching challenge is going to be ramped up with these teams that won't have any consistency schedule wise.
Yeah, that completely agree with that. We are going to see a couple of teams, I think, maintain some of their year by year rivals. I think the SEC has already said they're going to maintain the Red River rivalry. So we'll see what we can do there.
Yeah, and I think they're
But
keeping the Georgia, Florida, and
yeah, they got to keep Georgia, Florida. Imagine they'll keep Alabama and Tennessee if they can, because that was a fun game.
Ole Miss. Admit they'll keep
Um,
the Egg Bowl. Um,
yeah,
uh,
so I think you'll probably get maybe two year by year, or not. Yeah, two year by years, maybe.
Rest shuffle.
And then the rest shuffle, I imagine. So, like for OU, for example, because that's obviously what we care about here. We're probably going to see that Texas game, obviously, and maybe Arkansas. Like I
That's
don't
who I
know.
would like to see. Arkansas. That would be my choice. If I
Yeah,
if I if
Arkansas would be fun.
I had to pick one,
I
it'd
would
be
also like to see LSU.
yeah, though. I mean, that's almost an L every year.
Oh,
I'm just saying. Do you want a repeat of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase having 5 touchdowns and a half or something? I'm just,
hey,
I mean,
hey, that's one game. Why you gotta? You see this? You just bring up Justin Jefferson had 4 first half touchdowns. You just bring it up.
uh,
Yeah, that was painful.
But I think going back to the old Southwestern Conference or Big Eight, conference rivalry with Arkansas is a great
Yeah,
way to keep it. It's local enough where that 3 hour drive is not bad to
yeah,
Fayetteville. It's not. It's not.
that's not bad at all.
And I would make that trip. You fucking kidding me? I mean,
I'm going to that
yeah.
game.
There's no way I'm
I'm
not.
following that bus there.
Yeah, if it's LSU, it's a little bit longer of a drive, but
Yeah,
again, you're talking about 2 teams that historically have had quality matchups. I do bring out that one, but you look at the Sugar Bowl loss for OU in that championship game. That game was close, and OU had chances to
yeah,
win that game. They probably should have won that game. I think they had the better team on the field that game, but hard to outcoach Nick Saban, and I think that was kind of probably the problem there. Um, but I
and
think
then the
that
other Sugar Bowl.
yeah, and the other one, yeah, and the other one,
In
but
which we got absolutely royally fucked by Georgia.
yeah.
Um,
I,
I think that rivalry would be interesting on a year by year basis too. I mean, we would get absolutely slaughtered like in the next 10 years probably, but I would
Well,
like to see that rivalry.
yeah, and the point was brought up that OU probably shouldn't have been playing in that Sugar Bowl game, anyways. I mean,
Well, I mean, we were up. We were
yeah,
up.
yeah. I mean,
So we were going to win. We should have won that
what
game.
about Florida? What about OU Florida? We had a couple good matchups with
I like that. I
with
like that.
OU Florida. That Tebow season. You guys almost won that game too. You guys have
Yeah.
had opportunities to play these SEC teams, and most of them have been pretty close games. Like you said, the Georgia game in overtime, heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have lost that either. But had matchups with other SEC teams that have been valid, but I think
Beat
Arkansas is the best
Alabama.
choice.
Uh, I would agree with that. I mean, just with the history in the SEC as well, and I'm glad you brought up Florida because I want to bring up that the last time that OU played an SEC team, we beat Florida 55-20, I think, something like that. So just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and yeah, I didn't. I don't know if they played a lot of their starters that game, but I mean,
Doesn't matter.
I
Doesn't
mean,
matter.
a win's a
You
win.
know, you know, you know what never gets
A
mentioned
win
when
is a
Texas
win.
fans say 49-0? You know what never
Yeah,
gets
that
mentioned
we
when
had
Texas fans
that you
say
had Eric
49-0?
Gray throwing a pick over the middle of the linebacker's chest.
That we had
The only red zone trip you had.
yeah, Davis fucking Bevel.
Oh my god, it was so bad. Oh my god, it was so bad. I mean, how? I mean, thank God for Jackson Arnold. That's all you can say as an OU fan is he better be that guy because they thought
I
Nick
was so
Evers was that
scared he was
guy.
gonna flip. I was so scared he was gonna flip after that game. I was like, "Oh no," because he was there. He was like at that game as like a recruit.
Oh yeah, that's a
I
rough.
was so scared.
But
I was like, "Oh my
the
god,
thing
he's
is,
watching
but
me."
no, but the thing is if I'm Jackson Arnold, I'm looking at that as a good thing because it's like, oh, they've got nobody. They've got no. I'm gonna start. Like look at their depth at quarterback. It's trash. I mean, like that. Like if
Yeah.
I think that's what Jackson Arnold. I think it solidified it. Instead of making him flip, I think it was like, oh, I'm definitely going here. I'm gonna start like a motherfucker after Dylan Gabriel's gone. I'm the man. Because Nick Evers
Let's
was
talk about that.
what?
Let's talk about Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold, who's gonna be starting. Let's
It's
talk about it.
it's
We
gonna
have a
be
we have a
Dylan
small
Gabriel.
disagreement
It's
here.
gonna be Dylan Gabriel for the whole season. There's no Jackson Arnold isn't gonna see the field unless he tears an
Okay,
ACL.
tell me this. Tell me this. OU is 2-2 going into week 5. You don't think Brent Venables is pulling the plug?
I
He can't afford
I don't
more
think
than 4 losses. He can't afford it.
I don't think Jackson Arnold's mentally ready. I don't think he has a I don't think he'll have a
Did
big enough. I
did you
don't.
think Caleb Williams was?
He didn't need to be. The dude has quarterback speed that Jackson Arnold can't compete with. I mean, the thing is
Well, we didn't know that
if
until he came in.
it, I think they knew. I think Lincoln Riley knew. I think he knew. I think Lincoln Riley knew. Look,
But what if Jackson Arnold is that? And he kept it a secret, first of all. We knew that Caleb Williams was good. We did not know he was bust off for a 63-yard run first play of the game good. All
well, I
right?
mean, well, that was also poor tackling. But the thing is this
True.
is is with Caleb Williams. We already knew that that when he came into the game, the playbook was like this big. Like you know what I'm saying? Like here was the playbook before he got in the game with Spencer Radler. Here was the playbook when he got in. And if any play broke down, I think they knew that this dude's going to take off. Now, I don't think, like you said, they knew he was going to be like looking like Lamar Jackson out there, just juking people around like nobody's business.
It was so beautiful. It was
But
so beautiful to watch.
but I think that they knew that if any play broke down or if something bad happened. I mean, look at that Kansas game where he ended up taking the ball from the running back and getting that fourth down conversion.
God, that was so
The
awesome.
type of the presence of mind that like just gamer plays, like just gamer plays, like in the
He was
moment,
actually
like
in Heisman contention.
yeah.
He was actually going to win a Heisman for like 4 games there.
Yeah, exactly. It's all. And so I was just. I think with Jackson Arnold, just kind of a different animal. I think this is a guy that's more of your pocket passer. He's got a little bit of mobility. We saw it in high school, but everybody's got mobility in high
He's
school.
also like he's yoked.
Yeah, he's yoked. I mean, he's not going to he's not going to be elusive. I don't think he's that guy. I think he can
What if
shrug
he
off.
does?
I mean, if he is, that's good. But I think that first impressions upon looking at his high school highlights is, yeah, like he was running over dudes at that level. But like, look at the guys he was playing against.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as Arch Manning's competition, which was literally looking like 8th graders out there running around against a dude that was like a D1 prospect. I mean, but I think that as far as mobility goes, I think he's above average. I think he's what's he run, like a 4.6, something like that. I mean, that's fast.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
he's a fast dude. He's big too. He's
I-
like 6'3" or something. Like
uh, um,
he's a big dude. I'm excited to see him. But what I'm saying about Brent Venables here is he will not survive a season if he loses 5 games. It's just not going to happen.
he's 6'1",
OU fans won't let that happen.
05.
6'1", 205.
That's Jackson Arnold.
See, I'm 6'1", like 160. Like that's crazy. He's like 50. He's like 50 pounds heavier than me almost.
Yeah, I don't know if
Same height.
That's about it. I don't know if. I mean, we know he's not completely dead. If pressure comes, he can escape. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah,
he's got enough juice to give you 15, 20 yards on any given play if it breaks down. I
and
think
you have
yeah,
to be able to do that
yeah.
these days. I
I
mean,
mean, I
even
think
Stetson Bennett could give you 15 yards on a run if you needed
yeah,
it.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to be running the read option with him in there, but I think that it's a possibility that that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. So if the running game is going well enough, throw one read option play out there and let him go. I think if because my big thing about OU this season is the running game's going to be a lot better. And I think that that's
Yeah,
due to the offensive line gelling more, and I think that's due to the fact you've got more backs in your stable that have another year under their belt. It's gonna be Marcus Major's year to kind of establish himself. But I think Javante Barnes is kind of that guy for the Sooners. That's going to lead the way as far as someone who's shifty, who can make those impressive cuts. He's more of a speed back than a power back, and Marcus Major is more of your power back. Gavin Sawchuk, I think he's a decent power guy as well. Um, I I just and of course Gavin Freeman as well. I mean, I think those two guys are going to need to have stellar seasons as far as being able to be utilized in the offense in creative ways. And I think Jeff Levy's got a plan for that. And I think that that's kind of where you're going to set up for next year to have Jackson Arnold take the helm there with more of a, spread it out, be able to, incorporate more quarterback run, but not, super, because Dylan Gabriel's not super mobile. He's not that guy. He's a pocket passer guy. And I think that that's something that Jeff Levy kind of loathes about Dylan Gabriel, but I think his experience and his grasp on the X's and O's part just super exceeds Jackson Arnold's right now, and I think that's kind of why they're going to keep Jackson Arnold on ice. Even if they are, having a losing season, I don't think they're going to pull Dylan Gabriel out of that spot.
uh, I when it comes to the OU fan base is so brutal. I just don't think that Brent Venables can get away with having. He can't
I
lose 5 games.
but I think he
If he's
can.
if Dylan Gabriel is going if he has to make the decision between losing a fifth game and putting in Jackson Arnold, he's going to put in Jackson Arnold just to risk it. If Dylan Gabriel is, I'm going to be blatantly, and I like Dylan Gabriel. I don't have anything against him. I don't love him. I like him. The man has to fix the turnovers, and the man has to fix his fourth quarter. I just don't believe he has that clutch gene in him.
But I think
So
but as I said to you before, that's the running game. You were relying on Dylan Gabriel to throw the ball 40 times a game because you didn't have any running game. And if you don't, then the defense knows they're going to be in pass defense 75% of the game. That's why he's turning the ball over, because everybody's sitting back because they know they're going to fucking throw it.
yeah, but every time that he does throw it, even though he does have to throw it a lot, it's just not impressive, and he's a
Fun. Who was
turnover
he
machine.
throwing
So what
to? Who was he
happens?
throwing to, Zach?
What
Farouk?
what
Is Farouk the guy now? Like, I mean,
you
who
can't
who
blame
was
the
his
receivers
receiving
on that.
core? Who is his
You
receiving
can't blame
core?
the receiver. You can't blame receivers on him throwing it to the other team. I mean,
Run the right route. Get open.
what happens when what happens when there is a run stopping defensive line that they are going against? Like the
I
running
mean,
game, like I agree, the running game is going to be a lot better. I'm still relying on him to probably throw the ball 20 times a game.
oh no, you'll be
So
25, 30. Yeah.
yeah, like 25, at least 20. So probably, averaging 25 throws a game, he's probably going to give you 2 interceptions. I can't get away. You can't get away with that this season.
I I
You
think
know,
I think you're not going to see that. The reason I don't think you're going to see that is because, again, you have another year of the playbook at your disposal. I think it's about comfortability, right? Comfortability is the fact that apparently, I mean, we didn't know this, but there was no one behind him last year that could have taken his spot. And I think he was comfortable knowing that. And I
yeah,
think the coaches also knew that, like, even if he's having a bad game, like, we really want to throw Davis Bevel out there. I mean, they only did it
and
because they had to. They only did it because they
yeah,
had to. And then they were like, well, let's try Nick Evers, and that didn't go well. I mean, it's just, and that was a 5-star quarterback. Nick Evers was a 5-star guy, and he looked like crap.
yeah. I
I
was
mean, like,
disappointed in that.
and his dad was like, he should have got, like, his dad was tweeting at halftime, like, give my kid a chance. And they're like, here you go, here's one series. And he went 0 for 2 and got sacked. I mean, it was, I mean, not that OU was playing well and the morale was low anyways. It wasn't like they really set him up,
Yeah,
for a great, showing. It wasn't like they set him up for success there. There was no success to be had that day. And I think that that's kind of one of those things where it was really a no-win situation for anybody. I mean, we might as well have been playing quarterback that day because, I mean, it was just terrible. I mean, it was just
I
just
hate you
terrible.
saying that day.
Yeah, just that day. Like I think
Hey,
anybody in those stands could have played quarterback that day and gotten the same results. No points on the board and looking like trash. I think we all could have done that, and I think that that was just kind of the coaching staff laid on their sword and said, "Here you go, folks. This is what we've got in the barn, and it ain't good. And this is why we're trotting this Dylan Gabriel guy out here is because he's the best we got." And now that Jackson Arnold is there, I think that that gives them some security blanket, right? But I think because he has a better grasp on the offense, another year under the belt, another year of being under Coach Schmitty, the strength and conditioning coach is a genius. I think,
yeah,
and I think that having him go through another summer of workouts with the team, gelling with the skill guys. I mean, if he plays bad, Zach, it's because he's bad. If that happens this year, it's because he's bad. There's no excuse
and
that
I'm
Dylan.
not sure if he's not bad.
There's
Like,
no excuse for Dylan Gabriel to look worse or as good as last year. He should look better. And if he doesn't,
yeah,
then yeah, I get it. He's probably just not that guy. But I think that you have to have you have to have that confidence that another year under the belt is something good. It's the same approach I'm taking to Alan Bowman being at Oklahoma State. I don't expect him to be great, but I expect him to be the best quarterback on that roster right now. I don't anticipate Mike Gundy going to his kid or going to Rangel or going down that depth chart. I think he's going to be that guy if he can stay healthy because we know how talented Alan Bowman can be. But I think that you're going to have those mistakes. You're going to have some misreads. You're going to have the playbook, oh, I thought that play was this play. And I thought that guy was running that way. You're going to have those moments. It's going to happen.
yeah,
And I think that fans don't really have a grasp on that because of the brand of OU, right? It's like we're supposed to be elite. We're supposed to have these guys that are ready to play right out of high school, ready to go. And I think that that time is done. That time is done. These kids are raw. These kids are under a new system of coaching in high school. They prep them pretty well, but again, this is a different generation of guys. I think that you're talking about kids these days that are a little softer, a little more coddled by coaching staffs. And I think that when they get to that next level, you look at Brent Venables. He's a hard ass. Have you seen him in practice? He yells, he screams.
yeah.
He's emotional. He's always been that guy. Ever since he's been a coach, he's been that guy. And I think that when you had Bob Stoops there, stoic, kind of emotional, but never really super emotional, unless it was like the end of a game and it was a really big game and you were winning. I mean, you didn't really see a lot of emotion from Bob. Stone face, locked in. That was his thing.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley pacing back and forth with a Waffle House menu in front of his face. That was the emotion. Didn't give you anything in pressers. Didn't give you any emotion there either. I mean, this is a new type of coach for OU as well. So I mean, this is a new thing for a bunch of fans, and I don't think people don't like change.
Yeah, well, I'll say one thing, fuck Lincoln Riley. But also, I'm a big fan of Brent Venables. I love him. I love his coaching style. Uh, I'm 100% behind him. I think he is the coach for the future, unless he lets his emotions get in the way of his decisions. Unless he lets the fact that Dylan Gabriel is a senior get in the way of putting Jackson Arnold in. If Dylan Gabriel's about to throw his fifth interception, you know, I think when you're in that kind of situation, that's where I worry about Brent Venables enough is that I don't think he's enough like Bob Stoops or enough like Lincoln Riley in that sense. One thing I admire Lincoln Riley for, even though I hate his guts, is the fact that he was willing to put Caleb Williams in that scenario when we were down 28-7 against Texas, and he was willing to put in the kid who hadn't played an official game since his junior year of high school. People forget that about Caleb Williams is that he did not have a senior year of high school football, and he came in and won that Texas game. And I guess, and I'm guilty of this too. I think OU fans are expecting that out of quarterbacks like Jackson Arnold, and are expecting, and like you said, we're expecting that out of Nick Evers in that situation, and it didn't really pan out. So I can agree with you in that sense that I think, especially with NIL these days, and kids not willing to work as hard because they know they can make money in college, not willing to work as hard in college as they normally would. So it is a little bit more rare to find that player that really wants to be great, wants to win national championships, and not just get the NIL money. And wants to go be great in the NFL after that. And, I think Caleb Williams has that, which is why, he was able to come in and win that game for us. Um, So I guess, you just kinda have to wait and see, what the coaches think on these kind of players, and I think I can trust Brent Venables to be able to identify who and who is not that guy, when it comes to that. And I
Oh,
agree with you that Dylan Gabriel was the only option we had that whole year, when we're being honest with it.
yeah, well, and that exposed. I mean, if he had played
Yeah,
bad all season, I mean, and we hadn't had what happened in the Texas game happen, people would have said, well, "Why didn't he pull him? I mean, you have Nick Evers on the team. Why didn't he give him a chance?" I mean, we would have been having
yeah,
that discussion, but we don't have to have that discussion about last year because we saw how bad it was. And I think that, like you said,
yeah,
I think that's the big thing. But I also think Brent's very confident in his job security, which is why I think that if he doesn't put Jackson Arnold in, even if it is looking bad, I think it's because he goes, I'm still going to be here next year, and I still have this kid that's behind Dylan Gabriel that's better than him. But another year of watching is better than just throwing him out there 90 times out of 100. I think that I think Caleb Williams is an enigma. I think that when you have somebody that
yeah.
talented, I think that that kind of overshadows much of the standard procedure.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but be honest with me here, if you think that Brent Venables has another 6-win season, I mean, do you really think that he gets brought back for that last year with Jackson Arnold just as a test?
I think so.
You think so?
I think because I think the AD loves him a lot. I think the fan base is
Yeah.
as much as they would be upset with the results, would say, okay, look, going into the SEC, fuck the Big 12. Like it's it is what it is. I don't think the players were locked in because oh, we're going to the SEC. There's going to be excuses made because of the transition, because of how much the future is looking good for OU as a whole. And I think that
Yeah.
now, if he has a bad year, the first year in the SEC, again, they can make excuses because it's the first year in the SEC. I think that that excuse weighs. I think he's got a 5-year kind of thing going on where even if it doesn't look good for the first 4 years, I think they're still going to keep him at the helm. If he's still under 500 in his fourth year of coaching, I still think they keep him. I don't think they get rid of him because I think that the growing pains of moving to a different conference and the growing pains of having a young quarterback, you're still going to get recruits coming in regardless, especially now that you're moving to the SEC. So you're still going to have a quarterback competition if Jackson Arnold's looking mid the first year of the SEC. I mean, I think you're still going to have those chances. And God knows if somebody transfers to OU and they're better than Jackson Arnold, he may never see a snap at OU. I mean, and that's another
Yeah.
reality you have to face with all these changes with college football. The uncertainty factor is through the roof, and it makes people like us have a harder time analyzing anything.
Yeah, for all we know, Arch Manning could take a snap for OU next season. I mean, that no
It's
one knows anything.
true.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, so
I I
that's
can I can see where you're coming from there, and I think that, as an OU fan, though, I don't think that he gets more than 3 6-win seasons.
yeah, but
I just don't think he has a job after that 3rd one, especially when you get Jackson Arnold in there and that's really his recruits that he has trained for 2 years and coached for 2 years, finally coming in to be, like, the main starters. If they don't win games, at least 8 in that year, even if it is their 1st year in the SEC, I don't think Brent Venables comes back.
I mean, the floor this year is 8. The floor this year is 8. I'm just telling you right
Yeah,
now, for OU, the floor this year is 8 anyways. I mean, if they go 7-6, I mean, it is what it is. But I think that
I'll be so mad.
I think that if and here's the other thing: if the first year in the SEC, if the defense looks good but the offense is trash, they're still not going to blame Brent Venables. I mean, because he's the defensive coach first. He's not Lincoln Riley. He's not an offensive head coach first. So if Jackson Arnold struggles and they go 6-7 the first year in the SEC, but the defense only allows 25 points a game, I mean, who you blaming? You're blaming Jeff Lebby. He gets canned. You bring in somebody else and you give him another year. I think, and then you give him another year
Maybe.
after that because of the fact you're implementing probably a new offense. I mean, you see how this works.
If the defense is showing significant improvement year by year, then I agree you keep Brent Venables, but, I could see Jeff Lebby kinda being the scapegoat there
That's what I'm
for,
saying.
for a year. I could see that happening, but I don't know who else you bring in. I mean, Jeff Lebby was probably especially going, "Listen, Jeff Lebby's going back to the SEC." Like, he knows what's going on in the SEC. He knows how these defenses work. He's only been in the Big 12 for what, a season now? Is this a 2nd one maybe?
Yeah.
Like, this is his 2nd season here in the Big 12, and then he's just going straight back to the SEC. I expect the
Well,
offense to be better
was
in
at
the
Baylor. He
SEC.
was at Baylor with Art Briles. I mean
Well, yeah,
yeah.
but whatever. That was a while ago.
I mean that was
Old Big 12.
yeah. But I mean
Old Big 12.
but I'm saying that like if I mean Jeff Lebby is going to be that scapegoat. If they don't score that first year in the SEC, like if they can't score over 4 touchdowns a game in the SEC, but the defense is holding people 21 to 25 to 28 points, I think you're looking at him definitely getting canned before Brent Venables does. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing this year is will the defense make a jump this year? I think that's something you got to look for. Is if the defense
Mhm.
makes a solid jump this year, then you're expecting them to make another solid jump the next year after that because you still have recruits coming in that are 4 or 5 star guys on the defensive side of the ball, not just the offensive side of the ball that have come to OU because they want to play in the. So I mean, I think if
Yeah.
like you said, if he keeps doing that, then I think they'll be in good hands.
Hold on,
Let's
I just got a weird alert, little sporting alert here that says that the Broncos are planning to play their starters in the preseason opener against the Cardinals. Sean Payton is saying that they will be playing their starters.
I mean, good for them. They should. They were so trash last year. I think this is punishment. I think this is. I
Do you
think
think this is punishment?
no. I think this is practice. I think it's. I think Sean Payton is wanting to see what Russell Wilson can do, and I think he's going to look at it. I think the starters are going to look great because the other team's not going to be playing their starters. So I think the Broncos are going
Yeah,
to.
but what if they don't look good? How bad would that be?
That just. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it doesn't look. I mean, they're probably going to only be out there for the first quarter, anyways, probably. But I mean, like, he starts them. He
I don't
starts
know.
them.
Sean Payton's kind of being, a little
He's got money on
authoritarian
the
over
game.
there.
Sean Payton's betting. He's got money on the game. Got money on this
I,
preseason
res-
spread.
I respect that.
I respect it. I respect it.
Respect the hell out of that.
We got to go up by 17 before halftime, or else I don't win my parlay. So I mean,
I respect the hell out of that. Here's my thing. I'm okay with coaches gambling as long as they never bet on themselves losing.
yeah, exactly. If you bet on yourself to
That's the
win,
only thing they
what's the
can't bet on.
problem? What's the
Yeah,
problem?
if you bet on yourself to cover a 17-point spread, sure,
Yeah,
sure,
kick that
no
field goal
problem
with
with
4 seconds left, buddy. Do it.
That's
Do it.
good. That is an incentive. That is an
Exactly.
incentive for better football.
Okay, so we've kind of covered Big 12, SEC, Big 10 kind of realignment here. Let me just quickly go through the new teams that are going to be added to the group of 5 conferences. So Conference
Yeah.
USA is adding Jacksonville State, they're adding Kennesaw State, Sam Houston State. Um I mean, and as far as uh Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UAB, and UTSA, they left the American to join Conference USA. So they'll have 10 teams
Mhm.
in 2024. They will also not have divisions, 8 conference games, and the top 2 will play for the conference championship. Are you excited for some of these new teams to get a chance to kind of show what they've got in D1?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't follow Group of Five as much as I should. Um, all football is good football. Let's
Yeah,
be honest here. But I am excited to see a few of these teams get some chances. I'm excited to more so see how some of these more established teams fare against each other, especially in Conference USA. Like I want to see North Texas and see how they fare in the Conference
not there
USA.
anymore.
I thought you said they moved from the American to the Conference USA.
Oh, they no, they left. They left for the American.
They left for the American.
Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UB, and UTSA left Conference USA. They are now in the American Conference,
Um,
and they replaced those teams with New Mexico State, Liberty, Sam Houston State, and Jacksonville this year. So
Jacksonville State.
that's not a next year change. That's a this year change. So we will be.
Jacksonville State will be interesting.
That's it's not the one you're thinking of.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah,
Okay, see, now I'm all confused
yeah.
because they just keep adding all these schools are named weird things.
Yeah. You're thinking of Jackson State, not Jacksonville State.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking of
You're
Jackson State.
not
Yeah,
Coach Prime's old team. They're staying where they're
yeah.
at. If it was Coach Prime's old team, that would be different. But no, it's the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State, maybe.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
um,
UTSA I think, is the best team around there, so.
they're not there. That's what they left. I think the best team you got there is UTEP, probably. UTEP stayed, Western Kentucky stayed, Louisiana Tech stayed, Middle Tennessee stayed, and FIU stayed. Those are the 4 teams that stayed in Conference USA. Rest left for the
Okay, got it pulled up now.
for the American
I was
Conference.
getting American and USA confused.
Yeah, the American Conference.
There we go.
They added FAU, North Texas, Rice, UB, USA. That was the conference that Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF left. So once they left for the Big 12, they got replaced by those teams in Conference USA. They went to the American.
Okay.
And again, you're looking at almost no conferences now except for the MAC having division. In the MAC, nobody left and nobody has since 1998. So the MAC has been solid.
Let's go, MAC.
The MAC has been solid since 1998. So they have
go.
And the Sun Belt has divisions too. And they added James Madison, Old Dominion, Marshall, and Southern Miss last year. They have no plans to further expand, so they'll have 14 teams like they do this heading into next year. So I mean,
shout out South Alabama.
Yeah, South Alabama.
I actually worked with someone.
Let's go, Jags.
With someone who played. I worked with someone who played O-line at South Alabama.
Okay, there you go. So I mean, that's kind of Group of 5 conference realignment stuff. Some new faces. So I'm excited to see how that kind of shakes things up. Let's go ahead and transition here into these ACC win totals. I mean, ACC this year looking like a very top-heavy conference like they normally are. Got Florida State, State, and Clemson as probably the top 2 teams that I'm seeing here. The rest of them are kind of in the middle of the road here. But the first team on this list is Boston College, over under 5.5 wins, and right now they are picking them to win 5 instead of 6. They think that Boston College is only going to win 5 games, and they think they're going to lose the rest of them. The wins they have for Boston College are Northern Illinois, Holy Cross, Virginia, UConn, and Virginia Tech. Now, again, you have this Virginia Tech thing, Zach, where I don't know what the hell is going on with Virginia Tech. Some teams are projected.
Hey, Sandman.
I mean, because last episode we talked about that. Like, why is one team losing to Virginia Tech and the other team beating them if both of these are on different ends of the spectrum? Now you have Boston College beating Virginia Tech. You have a team like Wisconsin or somebody losing to them or something. Like it was ridiculous. As we went over the Big Ten last episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make about Virginia Tech. They're on.
So they're basically saying Boston College is better than Wisconsin.
I mean, as far as if you're using Virginia Tech as a measuring stick, yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem. They have losses for Boston College being Florida State, Louisville. They have Boston College losing to Army. They have Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Pitt, and Miami of Florida also being losses for Boston College. I guess they're just not supposed to be very good. I mean, they play Army and Georgia Tech in October, which is a game. Georgia Tech, I can see being an L, but Army, that's a rough L to take if you're Boston College. Because but how good is Army supposed to be?
I mean, they're sometimes in that top 25. I mean, I think last year they ended up being like 24.
Yeah, I mean they're decent.
I could see them losing to Army. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, I don't think they win. They can't beat Virginia Tech. I just don't think they will.
So you would take the under as well. I mean, it's favoring the under.
I might take the 4.
4, yeah. Say you lose to Virginia Tech as well. Just have UConn. I mean, Virginia's a tough. They're saying they're going to beat Virginia. That's a tough game. I mean,
they'll beat Virginia. I think. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean,
I would love it if Virginia would move to the Big 12. That'd be nice.
I mean, it makes
basketball.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, they're picking the under. Man. I mean, 5 is probably the ceiling. 5 is probably the ceiling for Boston College. I just don't know if it'll be Virginia Tech that they beat. I think I would maybe switch Virginia Tech and Army, or maybe Virginia Tech and Syracuse. I mean, maybe beat Syracuse and Virginia Tech. Maybe I'm too high on Virginia Tech. I don't know. Like I just feel like
Well, everyone seems to be high and low on Virginia Tech at the same time.
yeah, and we'll see their win total here in a minute, but I have a feeling it's going to be like 4. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah,
the I don't know
and
what
like
the
it's gonna be four wins against top 25 programs, and then 8 losses to
yeah, like
to Boston College.
yeah. Clemson is next on this list.
Yeah,
And CBS is picking the over 10 wins for the Clemson Tigers. They have their only loss being to Notre Dame. Um,
yeah,
but here's the schedule. At Duke, W. Charleston Southern, W. FAU, W. They've got to win at Florida State at home. They have Florida State at home, which
that's gonna be the measuring stick.
yeah, and then they have a road game against Syracuse, a Wake Forest team at home without Sam Hartman now, at
Yeah,
Miami of
trash.
Florida, at NC State. They got Georgia Tech at home. They got North Carolina at home, which is not going to be easy for them. And they've got
Nope.
at South Carolina as a win as well, which again, not going to be easy with Spencer Rattler playing the way he is. And that's one of their games later on in the year. So we know how Spencer kind of, his play kind of goes up as the season goes up normally. Um, I think I would take. I mean, the over is plus
You might
105.
take the
So
under.
so so
Initially, my reaction
Vegas
was, yeah, I agree with
Vegas
that,
is
but
favoring the under here, the under 10. CBS is picking the over 10. And I think the under is probably the way to go here. I think 9 wins is probably something that you see Clemson doing. I think they drop either South Carolina or North Carolina. They might even drop Florida State, to be honest. Um,
yeah,
I think that one of those 3 is going to be a loss. Notre Dame is probably a loss. The way Sam Hartman played at Wake Forest, having more access to better talent, obviously a good thing for a quarterback of his caliber. And again, I don't think Clemson's quarterback is any good. I mean,
yeah.
Klubnik is okay, but I don't think that Cade Klubnik is like, oh, Cade Klubnik, 11-win season, Cade Klubnik, playoff team, Clemson. Like
No,
I don't see him leading the way there for the Tigers and Dabo Sweeney. I think you're looking at a 9-win season, so I would take the under. You're not going to win any money
I think
taking the under.
9.
But yeah, I think 9. I think you lose one of those 3. I think you lose North Carolina, South Carolina, or Florida State. I think along with Notre Dame. I think 9 and 2. I think 8 is probably the floor for Clemson because how weak their schedule is. I think 8 is probably the floor here because you could lose both to North Carolina, Florida State, or I think Florida State's probably an L. I'm just gonna go up and say
You
it.
think
Florida
so?
State's probably an L, but I like Florida
You
State
think
this
Florida
year.
State's got it like that?
I like Florida State this season.
I don't.
I love them. I think that they are going to be probably the best team in the ACC instead of Clemson. I think this is their year to overtake Clemson and be the king of the ACC.
I'm gonna
I think they
flip
got.
here and say that South Carolina's winning the ACC this year.
If they do, I'll be happy for them. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but I just
Not
think
South
that
Carolina, North Carolina.
yeah, I mean CBS is not even listing South Carolina as one of their toughest opponents. They list Clemson's toughest opponents as Florida State, Notre Dame, and North Carolina. They
Yeah,
don't.
I think North Carolina has the 11-win season this year.
I think you might be right. Next on the list is Duke. They have this one as a push. The over under is 6 wins for the Blue Devils. They've got Lafayette, Western, UConn, NC State as a win, at Virginia as a win, and Pitt as a win for the Blue Devils. The losses they have are Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida State, Louisville, Wake Forest, Carolina. It's a push because I think it's going to hit right on that 6. But again, Virginia probably an L. That or maybe NC State an L. I don't.
NC State.
I don't. I mean, I know NC State doesn't have a quarterback really. But I think that I think that I think Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Duke, is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC. But I think that what the problem they're going to have is just the difficulty of schedule. They're going to make a bowl game probably, but they're going to have to finish really strong in November to have a chance to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to. I think having them, if you're going to bet on Duke, go with the exact win total at 6. I think you just hit
I would go
6.
with 5
You go with
because I
5.
think
I
they're
mean,
gonna lose. I think they're losing to NC State.
all right. I mean, I could. And the thing is, I could see that happening. I'm not against that happening. Personally, I would do the 6. I think they could probably steal one away from maybe North Carolina. I mean, that game's always close. Um,
Yeah, it shouldn't
if
be, but it
if
is.
if they lose to NC State, I feel like they could pick up North Carolina just because rivalry games are fucking weird, especially that one. And it has
Yeah,
been in the past where it's like, oh, North Carolina is a far better team and they lose. So I mean, I mean, I know it, and it's a home game. Uh, or no, it's on the road. It's in Chapel Hill, so that might be a little tough for the Blue Devils. But if their quarterback's as good as CBS is saying their quarterback is, I think that they have a shot. So, um, I mean, 5 or 6. I think you're just better just staying away from Duke this year. To be honest, don't bet on the Blue. It's gonna be weird. Um,
yeah,
so next is Florida State on this list, and like I said, I think that Florida State's probably going to be the best team in the ACC this year. And right now, if you're wanting to make money, it's under 9.5. If you want to make, if you don't want to make money, the over 9.5 is at -145. Um, now CBS is picking the over. They're gonna say 10 wins or more for Florida State, which I agree with. They say the 2 losses that Florida State's gonna have are Clemson and LSU, which that Clemson game I think could be flipped. I think if
yeah,
they're picking the over there, I think that's it. The rest of their schedule is pretty easy. Southern Miss, Boston College. I mean, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake Forest, Pitt, Miami, North Alabama, and Florida. To have them beating Florida, I don't know. I mean, that Florida State game is usually kind of iffy. I don't know how good the Gators are going to be this year, but especially after losing Richardson, their quarterback, I don't know
yeah,
if they've got somebody in the wings that's waiting to be the next guy up that's going to be able to compete. But I like what I've seen from Hunter Travis. Is that his name? Um,
yeah,
yeah, I like him. I think he's a really talented kid. I think it really comes down to the defense for Florida State. If their defense is decent, I could definitely see them winning at least 10 games this year. And I think picking the over for Florida State as the win total is 9.5, I think is probably the smart thing to do.
yeah. As much as it pains me to say it, I think Florida State probably wins at least 10 games this season. I can see them losing to LSU. I think they could beat Clemson. So, yeah, I think you're right on the money there.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. Next is Georgia Tech. Now this one, um, Vegas is favoring the under 4.5 here. They think Georgia Tech is only going to win 4 games this season. Um, CBS only has them winning 3. Um,
Oh,
and the 3 they have them winning are South Carolina State, Bowling Green, and Boston College. They have them losing to everybody else: Louisville, Ole Miss, Wake Forest, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Syracuse, and Georgia. And the thing is like I don't know if I can disagree with any of that. Virginia might be that fourth
yeah, I don't
win.
know.
I mean, Virginia might be that fourth win if they're going to be as bad as people think they're going to be. But still, if it's 4.5 and the under is favored, I think the under is the way to go here. I don't think they win 5 games. I don't. Who else are they going to beat
Yeah.
other than Virginia? I mean, they're not beating Louisville.
Hey, you remember when they almost like kind of scared us against Georgia?
That's their last
Remember?
game. That's their last game of the season. They got them at home. I mean,
You remember?
I
When,
mean,
you remember when that happened?
I do. I do. I do remember
Weren't
that.
they up? Like, weren't they up? It was like,
It came down. It came down to the last possession. Yeah, it came down to the last
yeah,
possession. So I mean, I think again, you're looking at a team where if you're wanting
that was
to,
crazy.
yeah, if you're looking to explore win totals here, the under is favored here at 4.5, and I don't think you touch this. If you
Yeah,
touch
I
it,
think
go
that's pretty
if you
early.
touch it if you touch it, you're gonna have to go exact win. If you touch it, you're gonna
Yeah,
have to go exact wins here, and I think it would be pretty safe with 4. I think they probably could beat Virginia, and they probably could beat Syracuse. Those are the 2 I would look at as possibly getting you to that 4 game win total. Um, I mean, it just doesn't look like um, the interim head coach that's now been named head coach, Brent Kelly. I don't know if he's going to have enough to be able to really work the Yellow Jackets into a favorable season this year. So tough for Georgia Tech fans, but I think it just is what it is. You're in a really tough conference, and your team is just
Yeah, I can agree with that. I just don't see them winning more than 3 games.
All right, so Louisville next on this list. They have the over under at 8, solid 8 wins exactly is the over under. Um, the over is not favored. They think that Louisville is going to win 7 or less games. At least that's what Vegas thinks. But CBS says over. Pick the over 8 for Louisville. They have wins against Georgia Tech, Murray State, Indiana, Boston College, Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami, and Kentucky. Losses to NC State, Notre Dame, and Pitt on the road. Um, I don't know how good Louisville's offense is going to be, but having a former Louisville quarterback as your head coach um, in his second year, I think that they're going to be favored against Georgia Tech and Boston College for their first 2 conference games. Their
Yeah.
non-conference, which is Murray State and Indiana and Kentucky. Um, they have them all as wins. I just think that Kentucky game is kind of scary. Because
Yeah,
and again,
Kentucky's good.
Virginia Tech, I guess, is going to be just god awful. Everybody's beating Virginia Tech except for one team that I don't understand, but that's okay. I just think that if you're going with the over here, I I think it's probably a good bet because if they lose to
Yeah.
Kentucky, I feel like they could beat NC State or Pitt. So you could probably swap.
I think they beat Pitt. I think they beat Pitt,
Yeah, I
and
think
I
you could.
think they lose to
I think the
Kentucky.
over
So,
is a good choice here, and that's where you're going to make some money. So over 8 wins is probably solid for Louis. I think this is going to be a good year for the Cardinals. You'll get a above average bowl game, and it should be a good year as far as everybody keeping their jobs and fans being moderately happy with the way the Cardinals play. So good
yeah.
luck to Louisville. I think they're going to have a decent year. Um, Miami, the Hurricanes. Now they haven't been relevant since the early 2000s. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it doesn't change this year. As
Should have joined the Big 12.
should have joined the Big 12, baby. Um,
Yeah.
so Vegas is favoring the under 7.5 here for Miami. They said 7 wins or less for the Hurricanes. Here are the wins they have for Miami. They have Miami of Ohio as a win, Bethune-Cookman as a win, and Temple as their 3 non-conference wins. Start 3-0. They have wins against Georgia Tech, Virginia, NC State, and Boston College, but losses to Texas A&M, North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Louisville, which I don't have a problem with them losing any of those games. Um, I mean, Texas A&M, we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
I think last year was a big, they got exposed. And I think that, you know, Tyler Van Dyke being the quarterback for Miami again this year makes him makes that offense pretty good because he was the ACC Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2021. So I know he's a senior now, but I think that him having that title, is going to have the offense is going to look good. Miami's offense is
Yeah.
going to be able to score. The defense is probably going to be fucking atrocious. But I think that
Yeah, that 20 years ago.
but yeah, but former Oregon head coach Mario Cristobal, um,
Yeah.
his second year. I think this is kind of again, if they can win 8 games, good for them. But I don't know what that 8th game is going to be. Texas A&M is the only one I see on here, or North Carolina as possibly that 8th win. But the thing is I could also see them losing to a team like NC State. I think that could happen, and they could definitely hit that under of 7 wins. I mean, which is what they have them at. They have them at hitting that under at 7, but they have in State being that 7th win. They could be 6. They could only win 6 games this year. It could definitely be possible. If they were gonna win 8, Texas A&M might be the only one I would put on there as possible W, because that's a non-conference game. That's early on in the season. That's their 3rd non-conference game. I don't know if it's their first one, but it's the other 2 are Miami of Ohio and Bethune-Cookman, which should be W's. So I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on Miami, but I think 7 is probably the way to go.
Yeah, exact win total, probably at 7. That's what I would take.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I think if they get that 8th win, it's probably at A&M. But other than that, I
they
don't know
have it
what
at
else you
home.
can
It's in
do.
Miami. Texas A&M gonna have to
Yeah,
travel.
that's a tough one, because we don't know what A&M's gonna look like this year. They're an anomaly every year.
Yeah, lost to Appalachian
Um,
State last mean, I don't know what else
Yeah,
you want to
like
say. I mean,
seriously, they were ranked top 5 in the preseason.
so
Like,
I'm.
what are we doing? You know?
But I think 7 wins, Mario keeps his job. I think if he gets 7 wins, I
Yeah.
think he keeps his job. So I mean, I could see just bet the exact win total. Don't bet the over. I think 7 is probably where. North Carolina next on this list. They have the over under at 8.5, with Vegas favoring the under. So they say 8 games or less for the Tar Heels. Here are the 8 wins that CBS has. South Carolina as a win, which I don't know about that. Appalachian State as a win. I don't know about that. Syracuse as a win. Miami, Florida as a win. Virginia as a win. Tech as a win. The Fighting Camels of Campbell as a win. And Duke as a win. They have losses. They have North Carolina losing to Minnesota, losing on the road to Pitt, losing on the road to Clemson, and losing on the road to NC State. I don't know about you, but with Drake May being
Over.
back, I just
Over.
Yeah, hit the over. I think hit the
11-win season.
hit the fucking
11-win
over.
season. It's an 11-win season coming up. I'm talking Drake May will be in New York. What are we doing?
I mean, losses to Minnesota? They're losing to
Pitt,
Minnesota at home. Minnesota is traveling to Chapel
NC
Hill.
State.
Yeah, and
You
NC
said a loss to NC State? You think Drake May is losing to NC State, Pitt, and Minnesota in the same year?
Now, and granted, the person who did this article says they could absolutely beat Minnesota, Pitt, or NC State, but I mean, they said they could also
What is
lose.
their reason?
But they could also lose to teams like South Carolina, Appalachian State, Syracuse, Miami, or Duke. So they don't. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's all over the place. I mean, if he had a choice, he would probably say stay away from North Carolina. But I think smash the fucking over. Smash the fucking over on the Tar Heels.
I think you could smash an over confidently at 10 wins because, they might lose to Clemson and they might lose to South Carolina. Those are your two options.
They're not losing to Minnesota at home. I don't know what the
They're
hell
not
they're
losing to
smoking.
Minnesota, exactly. There's no chance they have less than a 10-win season. I'll guarantee that right now. If you make that bet and lose, I will pay you back personally. Like,
They're like they could win 10 games or barely make a bowl game at 6-6. So splitting the difference at 8-4 feels right. It does not feel right. I don't know what you're smoking, bro. Like, I mean, this is a Tar Heels team where Vegas is even favoring the under here. What does Vegas know? Does Vegas think that the Tar Heels defense just isn't going to be able to stop a Pee Wee football team? Is that what they think? I mean, I just don't think. I mean, they said historically it's safer to predict 8 or 9 wins than it is to predict more than that. But this is not. You don't base things on history anymore. With the NIL and transfer portal, history is done. Fuck history. It's fucked. Yeah. It's fucked. Like there's no history in college football anymore. It's done. And I think that you smash the fuck over that over. Just get your money, boys. Get your money, boys, lined up.
About history.
yeah, like just smash it. Smash the over on the Tar Heels. That's the worst take of this so far. Is the Tar Heels under 8.5? Get the fuck out of here with that. It's bullshit.
Get out of here.
And the fact that Vegas agrees, fuck that. They are trying to give you this over. They're trying to give you this over. So take the over and smash the fuck out of it. Tar Heels are going to have, like you said, 10-11 win season.
I'd probably smash an exact win. If I had to smash an exact win total right now, I'm smashing 10.
10. Yeah, smash 10. Yeah, I think 10 is. I think 10. I think because you could justify a loss at Clemson, you could justify a loss at South Carolina. How do you justify a loss on the road to a Pitt team with nobody on that roster? I just don't understand.
This is a New York Six full team. Like,
yeah, I don't understand. I mean, unless injuries happen, I don't see anything keeping the Tar Heels from getting to at least 10 wins. NC State's next on this list. They say stay away. They say it's a push. The over-under is exactly 7. They've got UConn, VMI, Virginia, Louisville, Marshall, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina as wins for the Wolfpack. They've got losses to Notre Dame, Duke on the road, Clemson, Miami, and Wake Forest. I mean, just swap Wake Forest to North Carolina. You're losing to North Carolina. You're probably beating Wake Forest if you're NC State. I mean, I don't see how. I mean, you can. I mean, and lost to Duke on the road. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I mean, I've already discussed that Duke is like pretty much stay away from that shit. I mean, and they're saying stay away from this as well. I think you probably smash exactly the 7. smashed exactly the 7. But I don't see them
They're
losing to
not
North.
beating North Carolina.
They're not beating North Carolina. They might not even beat Marshall. I mean, Marshall beat Notre
Yeah,
Dame
I'm
last year.
smashing the under there. Like, I think they win 6.
You think they win 6? So you think they probably? I mean, they got Virginia Tech as a win on here too on the road. I don't know where they got Virginia Tech here, but we're about to find out because if they have Virginia Tech at over 5 wins, then there's no way that that half of these are even going to be right. Um, but I
Yeah.
mean, North Carolina State here at 7 wins, I think is probably right. I think you probably smash the 7 if you're going for exact, but you're not beating North Carolina. I'm sorry, you're just not beating North Carolina. I don't care if it's at home, you're not beating them. This is not your year, Wolfpack. Unless Drake May breaks a leg or something, like you're not
Yeah.
beating them.
Yeah, you're relying on injuries for those overs.
Yeah, I mean,
So, I mean, maybe you can bet the over if you're planning to go break his leg yourself.
and they even say
But
that every game from September 9th until the end of the season is a 3.5 hour drive from their home campus. So pretty much home games
jeez.
for the rest of the year for NC State, which is probably why they're, giving them wins at North Carolina and Virginia Tech, which I mean, Virginia Tech's a 3-win football team, then I get sense, but I don't know what we're going to
Yeah.
expect as this list goes on. Pitt is the next one on this list. They've got them smashing the over 7. Vegas agrees that they will win more than 7. Here are the 8 games that CBS thinks that the Panthers are going to win. Wofford, W. They think Pitt's going to beat Cincinnati, which, I mean, we've already gone over the fact Cincinnati's probably not going to be great, but that one's going to be a slugfest. I would not guarantee that. At West Virginia, that's their opening game. I think Morgantown's going to be ruckus as fuck. If Garrett Green plays well, West Virginia could beat Pitt. I'm just going to grow up and say that. OU saw that firsthand. And if he plays that well, then you're in trouble. They've got Pitt beating North Carolina. That is fucking a farce. Get the fuck over that. It's not happening. At Virginia Tech as a win, Louisville as a win, at Wake Forest as a win, Boston College at home as a win. Their losses they have are Notre Dame, Florida State, Syracuse, and so please explain to me how you're losing to Duke but beating North Carolina. Please explain that.
It's not happening. Why are they so low on North Carolina?
I
That's my
don't know.
question.
I don't know what I don't know what
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know what the deal is. I really don't. There's got to be something in the water. There's got to be a reason why. A reason why they don't like them. There's got to be a reason why, because it doesn't make sense. If I'm somebody, I'm picking the under here. I think you could easily lose to Cincinnati, West Virginia, and North Carolina, and that would definitely put you under 7 wins. I think if you're somebody that's trying to bet the under on Pitt. I don't think they're going to have a great season. I don't think 8-4 is possible for them, and you're not going to make any money betting the over 7 anyways. So bet the under. I think the Panthers are trash.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So
I'm 100% agreeing with you here. No chance they beat North Carolina. So 100% under.
Yeah. So I think that's I think that's money you have to smash there. Syracuse is next. There's only 4 teams left here. Syracuse at over under 6.5, and they say smash the 7 on the Orangemen. Here are the 7 wins they've got: Colgate, Western Michigan. Now here's where I have a problem. Zach. They've got Syracuse beating Army, but they had somebody up here losing to them that I was like, they have Boston College losing to Army, which I could definitely. Like you said, they're decent, but I guess Boston College is just that much worse than Syracuse. But I think that those teams are realistically probably on the same level, so I wouldn't guarantee that Army win. Boston College as a win. Again, those two are kind of in the same category for me. Pitt as a win. Again, slugfest. At Georgia Tech, probably a win considering how low they are on Georgia Tech. And then Wake Forest at home as a win. I agree with that. Losses for Syracuse. At Purdue, lost at Clemson at home, lost at North Carolina, lost at Florida State, and Syracuse losing to Virginia Tech. See what I'm saying? What is up with Virginia
Yeah,
Tech? I mean, you're good enough to beat Syracuse, but you're not good enough to beat Boston College. Yet Boston College is good enough to lose to Syracuse, but Syracuse is losing to Virginia Tech. I mean, this triangle of these three teams is really fucking with me. I don't know what to make about these kind of lower end ACC teams. I mean, both of us would probably agree stay away in general, but I think
yeah,
if you select the over and you're trying to make money, because Syracuse Vegas is favoring the under here, and I think that's probably the right way to go here. But 7-5 is a tall task for this Syracuse team. They're gonna have to pull up some upsets, and I would think the upsets are probably that Army and Boston College. I think those are going to be the tough ones for you. If you're a Syracuse Orangeman fan, watch out for those two games because those could definitely be losses instead of wins.
yeah, for sure. I don't think I'd touch Syracuse,
Yeah, I wouldn't. I
honestly.
I mean, if you want to touch them at all, I would say go exactly 6. I would go
Yeah, that's
exactly
probably fair.
6. I mean, because picking the over 6.5 is too risky for me. Because that seventh win, I don't know if it's gonna come. Uh, I mean, where does it come from if it's not Army and Boston College? Maybe Virginia Tech. If I scroll down here and Virginia Tech's a 3-win team, then I mean, I guess that would be the one that might push you over the edge there if you lose to Army or Boston College to get to that 7. But it's just too risky. Just too risky. I wouldn't touch it.
Yep.
So here we go. Virginia here. Oh God. Oh God. With Virginia
Oh,
here. Vegas favoring the under 3.5 for the Cavaliers.
oh,
Not a good year for the Virginia Cavaliers. They've got the 3 wins for Virginia being James Madison, William and Mary, and Georgia Tech, which I don't think that Georgia Tech game is going to be an easy win. They've got losses to
what's
Tennessee.
best here? Be
Tennessee
honest, you tuning into Virginia, Georgia Tech.
only if I'm betting
You
on
tune
the over. If I'm betting on the over 3.5, yes. If I'm betting on the over 3.5,
Gotta
because
tune in.
here are the losses they've got: Tennessee, Maryland, NC State, Boston College, North Carolina, Miami, Louisville, Duke, and Virginia Tech. So I mean, again, Virginia Tech good enough to beat Virginia. I mean, if Virginia and Virginia Tech are both at 3.5 here, I would not be surprised. But I think that I, I think I mean, if you're trying to make money, you'd have to bet the over 3.5. Who's going to be that 4th win? Duke? I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe Boston
Maybe.
College on the road though. I mean, that's a tough road game up there in Boston. Um, I think the under 3.5 is probably the right way to go here. You're not going to make any money unless you want to bet exactly 3, which I think would probably be the only way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree with you on that. Virginia is always just so bad. Um, so I mean, we'll see how they fare this year. But even Virginia Tech, West Virginia, everyone in the Appalachians except for Appalachian State is trash, and we know that. So I think I agree with you, and probably with CBS here that I'm probably smashing the under 3.5. That's rough. It's
That's
a
rough.
rough, that's a rough prognosis here for Virginia, but I'm going with it.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Zach. They have Virginia
Don't.
Tech at over under 5.5 wins. That's what I'm saying. Like, so why?
What are
How
they
does
favored?
so they're favoring the under 5.5?
And
Vegas,
every win they have will be top 25. I get it. All right.
Vegas, Vegas, and CBS are favoring the under 5.5. They say 5 games is the max. The Virginia Tech wins. Here's the 5 they have them win: Old Dominion, Rutgers, Marshall, Syracuse, and Virginia. Those are the 5 they have Virginia Tech winning. Here are the losses they've got: Purdue, Pitt, Florida State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Boston College, and NC State. Um, Now, the one we were talking about when we went over the Big Ten was Purdue. They have them losing to Purdue,
Yeah.
um, and I think that was the one where we were kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense if they've got Virginia Tech, to Purdue. How do they have them beating a team like Rutgers? I think that was maybe the question, because I think we saw Rutgers getting the over total was maybe. Don't really
Yeah.
know what our big beef was with that, but I think if I'm recalling that, I think that's what it was. Um, but I mean, losses to Purdue, Pitt, Florida State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Boston College, NC State. Boston College could be a win. Wake Forest could be a win. That Purdue game. It's at home in Blacksburg. Could be a win if they play well. Um, I mean, they think that Virginia Tech's going to start 2-3 and then end the season 5-7. Um,
Oof.
and they're picking the under 5.5, but I think they could pick up 6. I would probably smash the exact win total at 5. If I was trying to make money, because I think 6 might be a little bit too much to ask. But the fact that they are projected to have a better win total than Virginia, but are supposed to lose to all these teams, is kind of surprising to me. I guess they just have
Yeah.
a really weak conference, a really bad conference schedule as far as like losing a bunch of conference games, but their non-conference. I mean, at Marshall is a tough one. I mean, we know Marshall's decent. I mean, they're not. I mean, ask Notre Dame. They're decent. Um, I got a buddy that plays for them. I think that. I mean, I think you could probably switch Marshall and Boston College. Probably. I mean, I just don't know if I would touch the over. I think you just go exactly 5 here with Virginia Tech if you're trying to win money. Because Vegas is favoring the under, and I think that 6 may be too much to ask of them. If this is kind of what we're
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah. I think I agree with you here. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't think they're beating Purdue, but
Being at home
probably
helps. I mean, being
smash.
at home helps, but I mean,
Yeah, I probably smash 5. I might smash 4.
you're not making any money if you're smashing the under 5.5. But if you're doing exact like you
Yeah.
said, then smashing the 4 or 5 would be where you would make the money. Um. So yeah, I think that's that. Here's the last team here: Wake Forest over under 6.5. And CBS says Wake Forest 7-win team. Now Vegas is favoring the under. At -120. Uh, but if you're trying to make money and you want to believe in the Demon Deacons to win 7, here's the 7 they've got. Elon, win. Vanderbilt, I feel like these teams are on the same level. I don't know if Vanderbilt's really a win, but that's going to be a tough one. At Old
Yeah.
Dominion, probably a win. Georgia Tech, win. Virginia Tech, not sure that's a win. At Duke, yes, that's a win. And then NC State at home as a win, as their 7th win of the year, with losses at Clemson, Pitt, Florida State, Notre Dame, and Syracuse. I just don't know if you're losing to Syracuse and Pitt, if you're not going to lose to Duke or NC State.
Yeah, I think you reverse those.
Yeah,
Smash the exact. I mean, I think you reverse those. They have a couple of the games wrong, but they got the number right.
yeah.
They probably are a 7-win team. I might smash the 6 even, but
And if
probably staying with the 7.
because I could see them losing to NC State at home.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
NC State they said is a 7-win football. And this one's at 6.5. I mean, by those standards, NC State's supposed to be better, but I think that 7th win from NC State is their non-conference game. So I think that that's kind of where you're at because, I mean, I yeah, I think smash the 6 on this. I think you're probably losing one of these 7 games here, whether it's Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, Duke, or NC State. One of those 4 teams is you're probably going to lose to. And you might beat Pitt, you might beat Syracuse to replace one of those. But I think smashing the under here makes more sense. Now, obviously, Vegas is favoring the under here, so you're not going to make any money if you're betting the under 6.5. But if you're going exact wins, I think 6 is probably the way to go because I don't see 7 happening.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I might stick with 7, but if I was forced to put money on an exact win total right now, I think I'm going 6. Um, because like you said, it's going to be a slugfest in some of those matchups, especially like Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it just seems like those teams are very, very easily, kind of on the same tier list. And and
Yeah,
and, and as I say that, let's transition into this, which was very interesting that you sent me. I got this all lined up here. Um, so you sent me this NBA tier list of
yeah.
players here, and it is very interesting, to say the least. Let's take a look at this. So at the top, we've got Jokic, which I agree with. Where are the problems you see in this first image?
So in this top 28 is what it has here in the first image, right?
Hmm.
I see a few things that are not major issues, but I would personally change. So I'm looking here at Anthony Edwards and John Morant. I'm flipping those two. I think John Morant is better than Anthony Edwards right now. And I think Anthony Edwards belongs in that 16 to 21 range along there with the likes of Paul George, De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brown. Another problem I see is Damian Lillard being a little too low. I think Damian Lillard being there in that 16 to 21 range is not right. I think you flip him and Anthony Davis, and then you got a perfect little first image here. Only other issue I might point out. Actually, now that I'm looking at it a little closer, I think I have two issues I might point out. One is that Joel Embiid could be a little bit low in that 7 to 10 range, but I don't know. We saw what happened in the playoffs. And then Jamal Murray probably deserves to move up a spot
Yeah,
after his performance in the finals. So I think Jamal Murray is a top 20 player in the NBA. How about that?
yeah, I think you're kind of on the same line. Now, here's another one I see that I kind of have a problem with. Jamal Murray at this 22 to 28 range. I think you might bump him above Jalen Brown. I mean,
You think he's a I mean, I could see him knocking Zion and Jalen Brown off that
yeah. So I
next
mean,
tier.
Zion just because of the health, right? I mean, I think
Even
talent.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I mean, even
Like
De'Aaron.
I'm willing to say Jamal Murray is better than De'Aaron Fox.
I think that's not terribly inaccurate. Um,
Like he's right there in that fringe top 20. He's like in the bubble, 19 through 21 best player in the league. So,
and I think you're probably right with. I think I would probably switch Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum. Um, I think that
see, that's where I disagree. I think you
really,
switch him with Luka.
really, yeah, I think Luka's great. I just don't think his team is great. I think that's more of I think Luka Doncic is a better player than Joel Embiid, but I think Joel Embiid's got the better team. And I think Jason Tatum has been such a liability in the playoffs more than he's been an asset offensively that I think that you have to switch them. And having the fact that
No, no, not that.
Joel Embiid being hurt in the playoffs, I think also kind of factors into the fact that like his offensive game was not great in that game 7. But I mean, yeah, the Celtics beat them, but I don't think it was because of Jason Tatum. I think it was
Okay. It was because of Jason Tatum, though. It
he had
totally was.
50
He
points.
dropped 50.
I guess. I mean,
He had 50 in game. Now, it wasn't his fault that they were in that game 7. I could agree with that.
yeah,
That
I think
he
that
had a
was
little bit of a drought. But that was one playoff series. This man has
yeah,
led you to the finals and
2 years in a row. Yeah,
Eastern Conference Finals like 4 times. I mean, like this guy he's got playoff success. I think if anything, you knock Luka off that
out.
list and just put him in that number 7 because you had Kyrie Irving and you were the 11th seed. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That is where blame should be being put right now. And I was mentioning this to one of my friends earlier. I think SGA is just right there in the perfect spot, right?
yeah.
All NBA first team. He deserves to be right there in that top 5 area. But this year is the test for him, right? This year he's got Chet with him. He's got J Dub. He's got Josh Giddey. He's got a good young core around him that can score the basketball. He's got the EuroLeague MVP now. We got Micic. Like he has to lead this team to a top 7 seed, or he's not in that conversation anymore on that tier. In fact, he moves down to that 11 to 15 range. So that's the conversation we're about to start having with SGA this upcoming season is he going to deserve to be what CBS thinks he's going to be in that $400 million player? Um, we're gonna see that in this next season is where this is this measuring stick for him. He's got talent around him now. What can he do to lead a team? Can he lead a team past the first round even?
That's true. Do you think that Damian Lillard's better than Donovan Mitchell?
No.
Okay. I I yeah, I tend to agree with that, but I just
I
I,
think he's better than Anthony Davis.
but I feel like Damian Lillard could have gotten that Cavaliers past the you were to swap them. No,
Why?
because Donovan Mitchell fucking disappeared.
I mean, sure, but Damian Lillard is such a defensive liability.
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson would have 50 a game.
yeah. I mean, I like you said, I think this graphic is primarily correct. I don't really have a lot of beef. I think most of it comes in the last 2 years here. And like you said, if you wanted to take Joel Embiid and replace, you know, Luka Doncic with him, I don't think I would really argue with that. I do like Luka better personally, but I can your justification doing so, and I'm not super upset with it. Like I'm not like, oh, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it's not ridiculous.
I'm just appreciative of the fact that neither of us said SGA deserves to move down from that.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I mean,
Because
I
that's what the creator of this tier list is getting just slammed because of this SGA ranking.
but the thing is if you use the justification of okay, well, Devin Booker, disappeared when he needed him most. He turned into the Avatar. Kevin Durant's aging, Kawhi Leonard aging, and Joel Embiid injury wise. I mean, that's your justification for having him above them. I think that's correct. Um, Having him above LeBron, old as shit. Anthony Davis, injured as fuck. Jimmy Butler, great player, but just not on the level of SGA offensively at all. Donovan Mitchell, way better than him. Anthony Edwards, obviously better than him. Paul George, older and decline. John Morant, much of a. I mean, John Morant and SGA are almost I would say the same offensive type player, but I think John Morant's just too much of a liability defensively. Same
Yeah.
thing with Damian Lillard, older and a defensive liability. De'Aaron Fox, just defensively not great, offensively spotty. Um, Jaylen Brown too spotty offensively for me. Zion Williamson always hurt. Trae Young not on a great team. Much too much responsibility offensively is put on his shoulders. Pascal Siakam, same kind of thing with him. Tyrese Halliburton, very talented, bad team. Who's down here in the middle? That Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges also kind of the same situation as most of these guys on the bottom, except for I would say Jamal Murray and Kyrie Irving, are pretty much their whole team's offense, which I feel like is the reason why defensively all those teams suck. Um,
Yeah.
so I feel like you can definitely justify having SGA in that 5 spot, and I think people are just overreacting because they're too beholden on the greatness of Kevin Durant and the greatness of Kawhi Leonard and what they have done for the league in the last 10 years. But we're talking about the next 10 years.
You're talking about
This
2023.
yeah, this is not like overall career wise. This is going into this season. So I think that's the big thing you look at with this one. This next image here, this is 29 through 91 here. Did you see a lot of problems here? I didn't really get to look at this. Is that Vince Carter on that bottom?
No.
Oh wait, who is that? That's a Blazers guy. Who's that? Is
That's
that
Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes? There you go. I was like, who is?
I think I have one issue with this. I think Jalen Williams is better than Jalen Green. I do. I think Jalen Green is really good at playing AAU basketball. Um, over there on the Rockets, which is basically all they're playing over there is a bunch of AAU ISO ball. Yeah, he can get you 30 a night doing that. He's also going to get you 16 wins. So Jalen Williams over Jalen Green. Jalen Williams deserves to be in that 56 through 66 list. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Thunder fan, but I also kind of am. Walker Kessler can definitely move up on this list for me. And I think the only other issue I think CJ McCollum's a little high here. I'll probably replace him with Tyrese Maxey, and that's a good list in my opinion.
Yeah, the only problem I really see here that's glaring to me is having Cade Cunningham below Tyler Hero. Like, I
don't disagree with that.
I think that Cade is a far better player than Tyler Hero is. I could even probably say that about him being better than Austin Reeves too. Reeves seems a little bit
All right, see now we're getting into the Bedlam stuff, and I'm
No,
not.
no, 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 no. It's not. That's not why. I'm just saying, like, because Austin Reeves is a role player, right? But Cade Cunningham
Austin
is,
Reeves is no longer a role player. Austin Reeves is now a starter.
and I guess, but I
He's
mean,
an
like,
NBA starter that got paid
and he got paid. I
as an
mean,
NBA starter.
Cade Cunningham, top overall pick, hurt last year. I think going into this season, he at least should be on the same tier as Austin Reeves. In
I could say I would agree with you. Same tier as Austin Reeves.
have Victor
Same.
Wembanyama on that at spot.
Wait, is it?
Yeah, that's Vic, right?
No. Oh wait.
That is him.
Yeah, that is Victor Wembanyama. Yeah,
I mean, we haven't seen anything from him,
that's
so
actually the 50. That's actually the 59 spot.
50. Oh, pardon. No, it's not. Just 56, 57, 58, 59. Yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not ready to say that, but
yeah,
okay.
I think
Okay.
that might be the most glaring mistake is probably that, but we don't know yet.
We don't know. We don't know.
If
But
they
are
were
we
to
really putting him over Jalen Williams right now? Like,
I that makes sense.
jeez.
Yeah, I think that's
You really think he's one player away from Draymond
yeah,
Green?
like oof, Draymond above him, like oof, like I mean that's that right there is kind of that's rage bait for sure. Um,
Yeah.
I like Giddy where Giddy's at. I think that's probably a right next to Russell
I just
Westbrook.
see. I think he could be a little bit higher on this list. I think he's better than Jalen McDaniels right there, but
Is that the guy in the Timberwolves jersey?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
I think he's just one spot above Scotty Barnes, and I think that's where you put him.
yeah. I could see that. I mean Bruce Brown seems a little high. I mean I don't know if
I
I
like him
would.
where he's at.
I mean, well I think that Giddy might be better than Bruce Brown.
I could agree with that. I just need to see this next season.
Yeah,
Seeing how Bruce Brown helped that Nuggets team get the ring, that kind of added a lot. That gave him a lot of good rep, in my opinion.
I like where Michael Porter is at. I like where Spencer Dinwiddie above Michael Porter, though. I don't know.
It's
I,
tough.
I,
You just don't know what you're going to get with Spencer Dinwiddie
yeah,
anymore.
I think these last three columns right here would shuffle a lot if they were to redo this halfway through the season. I
But
think,
that's kind of where you start getting into the nitty gritty of the
yeah,
rankings. When you start getting into that 60s area, that's where it really is just anywhere. Um, like you can't really tell how you can rank some of these guys. I mean, you got Chet in there. Chet has never played an NBA game.
yeah.
I mean, like you got Chet there at the 67 spot. Are we ready to say that Chet is better than Paulo? Paulo's low on that
Banchero,
list, I would say.
I would probably switch those two to be honest.
Like Cade Cunningham and Paulo should probably move up a column there or a row, I
Yeah,
guess.
I think I could see that because
And
I think Tyler,
Victor Wembanyama has no business being on that row right now. I think you should move him down there with Chet.
yeah, I think if you're gonna go from hasn't played an NBA game and have that be the justification, then I agree. I think you need to drop Victor, probably raise Banchero and
Yeah,
Cade. I would probably even think about
Aaron Gordon.
dropping Tyler Hero from that tier above that because I don't. I mean, he's a good scorer, but I mean, I don't think
I'd drop Jordan Clarkson from that list.
Yeah, Clarkson's kind of iffy too, being up there. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
is
glad.
that?
I mean, Jordan Poole, where he's at, I don't better than Austin Reeves.
Scoot
Yeah, I can.
Henderson. There's Scoot Henderson right there by Anthony Simons.
Yeah, I think
What
that's.
the hell? That is weird.
I think
I
it's
don't like how
because of
they
the
included
unknowns.
those.
I think it's the
I
unknown
don't like how
factor.
they included those. Like you just shouldn't include those
Yeah,
rookies.
yeah, I agree. I
Like
think keep the
let's just go
rookies
with
on.
players that have stepped on the court. How about that?
Yeah,
Like
I think that's the biggest thing. Put these rookies on here. I think that kind of fucked a lot of these tiers on this bottom
yeah.
half.
Like you're not gonna sit here and tell me that Scoot Henderson is better than Paolo right now. I just don't know that.
Yeah, we don't. And
I
that
could
is,
believe it.
yeah, I can believe it, but you don't know. Yeah, right. You don't know, but you can definitely believe that it's possible, but you have to see it to believe it. And I think that's because, like, right now, I would probably even have Brooke Lopez above Victor Wembanyama if you want to go by them standards.
Yeah, let's do it.
I
Like
mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like by those standards, that
I'm
makes
talking about
sense.
Want to talk about a good big man, Brook Lopez.
Yeah, I mean he's solid as fuck. Might be aging as
Solid
fuck,
as
but he's
fuck.
solid as shit. Um, I mean, I think Klay Thompson might be a little bit low on this list. I would take him over DeAndre Ayton. Um,
Yeah,
I would probably even take him above Sabonis. I love Sabonis as an overall like triple double threat, but I feel like who scares me more offensively? Not Sabonis. I
yeah. I'm
mean,
scared of Klay Thompson, but that's probably PTSD
yeah,
for
it
me.
probably is. You're right. I'm having Game 6 flashbacks. Uh, um, yeah, I think this. I mean, you're gonna have a clusterfuck when it comes to this bottom of this period, but I think that's expected. Like
Mhm.
you said, once you get into the nitty gritty, I think this is the image that people are gonna have the most problems with because there's so many things you can interchange and you could justify it easily. Um,
Yeah,
but I think overall, like you said, pretty solid graphic. I don't think the SGA hate is really warranted if you take in the factor of not talking about established greatness. We're talking about right now, right now, right now, going
yeah,
into this season. You know, you wipe the slate clean talent wise. Um, these rankings make sense as far as that first image. I think there's no problem with that at all. You have a couple here, as you said, the bottom two tiers. You could see some changes on that first image, and then again, having Joel Embiid be there instead of Luka Doncic, I can justify that as well. Um, I just don't think you could justify anybody else switching with Luka, as far as potential and what he's already given the league. So, I mean, love
yeah,
that. Love what you brought to the table there, friend. Love what you contributed because that's a good conversation to have. And we'll revisit that graphic
yeah.
later on and reorganize it once the season gets underway. Which again, not very away. Got about 3 months. So I mean, we're on the cusp of another NBA season starting as well. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We went a little long, but
Yeah,
I mean, conference
it went
realignment
all along, yeah.
was the big thing. I mean, we spent an hour talking about that itself because it was just such a big thing, but it needed
Yeah,
that time. Yeah, there's no way to cover those changes without
mhm.
taking that time because there was so many of it and the impact is just so big. So I appreciate everybody, hanging out and listening to us ramble about. I know we got a little off track with some of the OU talk in the middle there, but the thing
But
is,
what would
is
this be without it,
exactly what would
you
this
know?
be without it? What would this be without it? It would just be your normal average ho
How
hum.
OU fans are.
Yeah,
Or,
but
and you're not an OU fan, but
I mean, I'm
you're kind of
here.
an OU
I'm
fan,
I'm
the
I'm
other
I'm
OU.
I'm I'm a local admirer. I'm a local admirer. I
Yeah, like,
I
that's all we can do here. You gotta
I
relate it back to how OU's
I
gonna do
I've
this
been to
season.
more
It's like
OU.
LeBron's
Yeah,
legacy.
yeah, I've been to more OU games than any other team. I've been to a few OSU games,
Yeah,
been to more OU games than OSU games. I mean, so I'm kind of a fan adjacent. And
yeah.
we did
You live
recover.
here.
I mean, we did recover that onside kick. I think Gordon Reese saw it correctly. I don't know what Derek Strait was doing holding that ball up, but I mean, where did it come from? Probably stole it from one of our ducks. It's all right. 2008 is what 2008 was. It's all right. You got revenge in like 2 Holiday Bowls, just so you can hang your hat on that. Congratulations, Rhett Bomar. There you go, Rhett Bomar. Yeah, Rhett Bomar. All right. Anyways,
We should have won the Natty that season.
yeah, probably, probably. Um, all right. Um, yeah.
Alright.
So yeah, let's get out of here. Anything else you want to add before we end this baby?
No. Besides OU's gonna win 11 games. Let's
All
go.
right, all right, let's go. All right, well, appreciate you hanging out with me today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend,
Yeah.
and we'll talk to you next week. We'll go over some SEC win totals, and after that, we've got just a couple more conferences left. We've got 4 weeks till kickoff, baby. So we'll
Let's
keep
get
you
it.
we'll keep you locked in, and we appreciate your time.